Hi everyone, welcome back to Piano Practice Partner. We are on lesson 5. High five, come on. We've almost done, we've done over a month. We've done over a month's worth of learning and a month's worth of practicing. So hopefully you're feeling a bit more competent and confident on the piano. And excited about the future of what this thing is. So today we're going to be delving into some inversions. But let's, before we do that, recap on what we learned last time. So the last lesson we looked a little bit about rhythm and like what a bar is, how to count 1, 2, 3, 4, what that meant, and then looked at the components that we could fit inside a bar of 4/4. So we could fit in a crotchet, which was equal to 1 note. We could fit a quaver, which is half of a crotchet. So if we could have 4 crotchets, we could have 8 quavers. And then we learned about semiquavers. So if we had 8 quavers, that would be 16 semiquavers. We also learned about a semibreve, which was worth 4 whole notes, and a minim, which was worth 2 notes. So very quickly, if this is our pulse, 1, 2, 3, 4. A semibreve would last the entire length of the bar. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A minim would last 2 notes, so we could fit 2 lots of minims inside a bar. So that would sound like this: 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. With the crotchet, they'll equal to 1 note. So in a bar of 4/4, we could fit 4 crotchets in. Ready? 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's following the pulse of this. Quavers, we could fit 8 in because it was double the amount of crotchets, right? Because we sort of subdivide what we call subdividing. So we can subdivide 4 into 8. So that would sound like this: 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then we could subdivide that again to go from 8 quavers into 16 semiquavers. Let's see if I can play this with one finger. It might be too fast for me. Ready? 3, 4, 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E and a... something like that. Maybe a bit sloppy with my left hand. But yeah, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... So there's some basic rhythms and notes for how we sort of arrange music and rhythms within music. We'll delve more into that later down the line, but hopefully that was useful just to get a handle on what we mean when we talk about rhythm. If you haven't already done so, please hit subscribe, maybe give this video a like. It really helps the channel out. It helps me know that I'm not just shouting into the void as well. I'm really enjoying learning piano, but it's nice to do it sort of alongside people. So if you're enjoying it, please let me know, because it's nice to be able to make music and share this with everyone. So today, we're going to look at inversions and what an inversion is. I'm going to turn this around. Just get rid of that writing at the bottom. So, let's start by looking at the C major chord, which, again, we know and love. This is so familiar to us now. So, if I write down C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, I'm actually just going to go up a bit further as well. C, D, and as we know, it just repeats. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Let's just leave it at that. Let's just go down as well, just for clarity's sake. G, F, E, D, C. Great, so here are our notes on the keyboard. Now, our C major chord. The 1, the 3, and the 5. What notes am I playing? I am playing C, E, and G. And look, proof, because I've written it down. It's undeniable. Now, when we were learning Let It Be, these chords, the G, the A minor, and the F, are quite close to each other. We can very easily just move around. But this C to G, it's quite a big leap. Sure, it's relative. It's not actually that big. It's not like I'm going up here. But it's still a lot of movement. And as we progress with music and we're jumping around chords, there might be some big leaps. And so often what pianists do, or can do, is use a thing called inversions to make that a little bit easier. And all an inversion is we're taking the notes of that chord that we want to play and just changing the order. We're inverting the order to make it easier to arrange our hands with the other chords. So what do I mean by that? Well, we already know that we've got a C, a E, and a G. Now what happens, I'm just going to put a line there, if I go E, G, and C, what chord is that? It's a C major chord because it uses exactly the same notes. It's just in a different order. So rather than playing C, E, G here, we're now going E, G, C. And if you hear that, compared to that, it's exactly the same chord. Now it might sound slightly different to your ear because the C is now on top, and usually the top note is the thing that draws our ear. But for all intents and purposes, it's the same chord. So why is this useful? I said it was to help us sort of arrange our hands when we're playing different chords. Say we're going from C to F. I'm having to pick up my hand and place it down quite frequently, which if I was just cycling this for ages, could get quite tiring. And so, if we use this version of the C, the E, the G, and then the C, what do I need to do in order to make the F major chord? I just need to move these two fingers up to the F and the A. And if I want to go back down to the C, just moving back down. My finger's staying on the C up here, so I'm just going between the two. C, F, C, F, C, F, C, F. See how much easier that is? I'm not having to jump my right hand around so much. I'm not having to go pick it up and put it down, pick it up and put it down. So very simply, that is a really useful case of like how we apply inversions. The other reason why we might use an inversion is to vary the sound. So say we're playing the C and we'll just sat on this for ages for whatever reason. I don't know, we're vamping or it's a song which has a lot of repetition in it. One way to give some variety without it going anywhere is to I'm still just playing the C major, but just having that slight shift in the inversion where the top note is moving helps it feel like it's got some motion and some evolution to it. So it's not only for arranging our hands in a more comfortable manner so we're not jumping around so much, it's also to help give some variety. So it might take us a little while just to get used to that because we've learned C major as being C, E, G, and our hand is a very familiar position here. Whereas we shift up here, obviously we've got to slightly stretch the finger up to the C. Because if we're just taking our hand position and moving it up and plonking it down, it's not C major because we're playing the B by accident. So we've got to shift that one up. And this again is why I wanted to start this channel and try and understand some of the mechanics, because if we were just told that this is a major chord, we've learned in previous lessons that that's not the case. You know, that's a minor chord. And if we were just to do this, trying for an inversion, we're actually playing E minor here. So we understand that C, E, G makes up C major chord, the 1, the 3, and the 5. Here we're just doing that again. But instead of playing 1, 3, 5, we're playing 3, 5, 1. With the 1s at the top now instead of the bottom. The more perceptive of you will have realized that there are 3 notes here. So it stands to reason that there's a third inversion we can do, or a second inversion. If this is our sort of primary, this would be first inversion. So second inversion, what would we do? Well, we haven't started with the G yet. So we'll just shift the E up now. So we'll go G, C, E. So let's have a little look at what that's like. So here's our G, slightly smudged off. So let me just redraw that. Boop. There's our G, there's our C, and here's our E. Now let's listen to that in relation to the others. So here's C. Here's our first inversion. And here's our second inversion. They sound slightly different, but they're all C. Again, it's more in relation to where that top note is. You can really hear that ping out, can't you? Boom, boom, boom. What's really useful about this is we don't just have to stick within this little familiar area that we know. It feels comfortable, doesn't it? It feels like home to us. But we can just take these inversions all the way up the keyboard. And it sounds really complicated and fanciful, right? It sounds like a big classical ending when they're sort of like played there, and they end with a big rousing. But all we're doing is we're playing C major again and again and again and again, just using these different inversions, using the primary, the first and the second inversion, just moving that up. It's not complicated, I don't think. But obviously when you hear that, it's like, wow, what are they doing? I don't know how they're making all those choices. They're just shifting the exact same chord all the way up the piano. So simple when you break it down. So let's just practice going between C major, the C major we know and love, C, E, G, and then E, G, C, and then G, C, E, and then back down maybe. It's good to cycle that because, again, it's not just picking our hand up and plonking it down in the same position. We're having to now start to think about how our fingers move, you know, how they find the notes in a different order. And this is really useful to be able to do and understand where C lies in all its positions. Because when we start to move between, like, as we said earlier, going from F to C, that's very easy and comfortable to do. And all that is exactly what we've been learning. But just moving it to the second inversion. So when we start learning new music, we can go, is there an easier way of doing this? Actually, yeah, I can play the C rather than here in the first position. I could play it in the third position. Hey, and look, just by doing that, that is Let It Be, isn't it? What we've been learning. But rather than going from C up to G, we could play this inversion, G, C, E. So that's our C, that's our 1. And then for the G, all we're doing is we're bringing these two fingers down. And then to our A minor, it's just moving up. So that's the second inversion of C to G. Great, so we'll spend some time in the practice session after this just really drilling those 3 variations of C major. But for the rest of this lesson, let's look at all the other chords we've learned, or some of the other chords. So let's look at F major now. So F major is made up again of the 1, the 3, and the 5. So we've got F, let's write that down. We've got A, and we've got C. F, A, C. This G, I love rubbing this G off, don't I? So I'm just going to put it even higher, just there. F, A, C. So what would our first inversion be? Very simply, we're just going to take that first note and we're going to put it at the end. So it's now A, C, F. So let's have a little listen to what that sounds like. A, C, F. So F major, and then the first inversion. Now notice, I don't know if there's a right and a wrong way to do this, but it's what's comfortable and what's easy. With the first position, the primary position, I'm playing thumb, index, middle. But when I'm switching up, I'm then not using my middle, it's quite stretched, it's quite an uncomfortable stretch. So I'm using my ring finger instead. So not only am I having to stretch my hand a little bit, because the notes aren't so evenly spaced here where it's you miss out a note, you miss out a note. It's now miss out a note, miss out two notes here. So it's getting used to the new motion, but also maybe switching fingers. So let's just practice moving between those two. And we're just holding the F in the root, in the bass, just for some context. Oop. If you make a mistake, it's fine. As long as you know it's a mistake and you're correct. We're learning here. So there's our first inversion. So what's the other inversion we'll do? We just take this first note and we whoop, pop it right at the end. So now it's going to go C, F, A. So C, F, A. There we go. So now we can put them all together. We can go F major, first inversion, second inversion, back to F major. They're all F major, but you know what I mean. And my brain's just had a little melt. There we go. So if that happens to you, there's no rush. It's just figure out what's the right thing. There's no point just guessing, because if you guess and sort of get it wrong, then you're encoding in your brain the wrong sequence. And so just take your time, figure it out. And obviously it's really hard to sort of go wrong when you've got it written here, and also on here as well. You can just cross-reference. Okay, there's my A, and then the C, and then the F. Great. And then the C, and then the F, and the A. Great. There's our inversions of F major. Now, let's do G major. So what's G major? G, B, and D, right? G, B, D. So we're really good at this now. So all we're going to do is we're going to take the G and put it at the end. So it's now B, D, G. And then just for time's sake, we'll also do the next one. We're going D, G, B. So let's play from our original. We're going G, B, D, and then B, D, G, and then D, G, B. You can start to hear it, can't you? You can start to hear how the notes stack on top of each other. It sounds very familiar. So here we go. G major in its original position, and then first inversion, and then second inversion. Back to the first, or back to the original. So now it's just a case of getting to grips with where the inversions are and how to play them. So we have multiple options now at moving forward. And if you haven't got them all written down here, there's a really easy way to remember and to know what you're doing. Just look at your hand. We know the notes. We can see the notes. We're literally playing them. C, E, G. Even if they're not written on the keyboard, you can see where you're placing. So when you're moving up, we're just taking this bottom note and placing on top. So the only thing we need to do is to replace these two notes, which we were already playing, and then put the note that we were playing on the top. So we're just taking the C and placing it on top. Now, for the next one, we are taking the E and we're putting the E on top. So we're still keeping the G and the C, we're just moving the E. And if we're going up again, we're just moving the G. So we're keeping the C and the E where they are. And just keep cycling that. So it's really quite simple. You're just taking this bottom note and putting it on top. And then when we do the next one, you're doing exactly the same thing. You're taking this bottom note and you're putting it on top. And then taking that bottom note. And obviously you do it just with the one hand. But as a visual reference point, that's a really easy way of understanding it. Because you're not having to go, I'm having to move 3 notes. Actually, you're just moving the one note from the bottom to the top. So let's do that for F major. We haven't got them written here, but we know it's F, A, C. And looking at hand, we're keeping these two exactly where they are. Well, not exactly where they are. You're having to move your hand, but you're just replacing the fingers that are playing those notes. And you're taking that F in the bottom and putting it on top. And then again, if you want to move further up with the second inversion, you're taking the A and you're putting it on top. So you're still keeping the C and the F here, and you're just placing the A on top. And then place the C on top. And then place the F on top. And then place the A on top. So let's do it for G really quickly. We're just taking this bottom note and we're placing it on top, right? So we're just going, and then placing the B on top. And then placing the D on top. Really simple, right? Just taking that bottom note, wherever that is, and then keeping an eye on, okay, these two fingers need to switch, but keep the notes the same, and place that bottom note on top. I know I've said the same thing multiple times, but hopefully that's just a way of embedding it in our brains. My brain especially, it's very slow. I haven't had a coffee yet. I'm going to go remedy that after this lesson. So, inversions. That's what inversions are. We're just reordering the notes, but it's the notes we already know. So let's just get really comfortable with switching between the two. I'll be releasing the practice along session where we'll go into that and we'll set a timer, our trusty timer up here, and practice along. And then we would have learned all these chords that we're learning so quickly anyway. We're now learning different inversions of them. So we have so many things very quickly at our arsenal. And the more we practice, the more we do, the more that will just be readily available to us at any moment we need it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It's really great that you're still continuing to turn up to practice, to learn the piano. I hope it's really exciting. We're going to be pros in no time at all. We're rattling through this, but I hope it's all making sense. Please drop a comment below. Let me know what your wins of the week are, anything you'd like to learn in the future, what's really helpful, what you'd like to see done differently, anything I need to reiterate or go over. And if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe via the button that's somewhere, and give us a like and share with any budding musicians in your life. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you next time. Happy practicing. Have a great week. See you next time.